We are learning more about the vehicles that might be involved in the missing girl from northern Wisconsin.
And city leaders are backing additional resources for first responders in next year's budget. We'll take a look at what might be changing for Madison's police and fire departments.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 This Morning, 6 o'clock now on this Tuesday, October 23rd. It is 38 degrees out there. We're going to be a little bit chillier than yesterday, which is easy to do because it was beautiful.
It was absolutely gorgeous yesterday. Temperatures were even a little bit warmer than I forecast. Everyone made it into the 60s yesterday afternoon. But not today. We'll be struggling to get back to 50 later on. 38 right now in Madison. Skies are clear. We have a light northwesterly wind. Sunrise not happening until after 7:20 this morning. Here's a look at Weather Track, which is satellite and radar combined. Pretty quiet around here this morning. Nothing really to talk about weather-wise for this part of the country. We expect sunshine today. Your outdoor forecast, though, has highs only in the upper 40s later on. So I guess my piece of advice is to grab that jacket before you head out the door. Your first alert traffic update this morning showing you what's happening on the roads. We have pretty quiet conditions still, just a few brake lights showing up on the Beltline right around Stoughton Road. No delays though in the downtown areas just yet. No accidents either to report, which is great news. You're still traveling at posted speeds heading into Madison.
And the good news is lots of sun on your commute as soon as the sun comes up. 7:20.
Yeah, some people might be going to work before the sun comes up now.
Too soon.
A little bit later every day.
Thanks, Eddie.
You're welcome.
6:01 right now. We want to start this hour overseas where the Turkish president wants 18 Saudis to be released into his custody and tried in his country's courts. He says those 18 suspects are all responsible for killing a Washington Post journalist in the consulate in Istanbul. Just this morning, he urged the Saudi government to reveal who planned Jamal Khashoggi's murder days before it happened. Turkish investigators also say a body double was used to make it look like the writer left the consulate alive. Saudi leaders maintain that Khashoggi died accidentally. A major innovation summit starts today in Saudi Arabia. A number of international leaders, including U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, have dropped out of that conference.
New this morning, deputies in Dodge County are asking for help finding a vehicle that seriously hurt someone in a hit and run last night. The sheriff there says it happened just after 7 p.m. in the town of Oak Grove. That's when a vehicle, possibly a white Ford F-150, hit a pedestrian on County I and Highway 33. Another driver found that 32-year-old man lying in a nearby ditch. That man had to be airlifted to a Milwaukee hospital with serious injuries. Deputies say the truck that hit him should have damage to the front end and the driver's side headlight. Anyone with information can call that number right there on your screen. A local family is calling for stricter OWI laws after the man found guilty of a fatal hit and run was sentenced to 6 years in prison. That's nowhere near the potential maximum sentence for 27-year-old Francisco Martinez. He'll also be under extended supervision for an additional 6 years following his time in prison. Now, Martinez hit 30-year-old Curtis Bonds back in May of 2017 as Bonds was walking across Highway 113 near the town of Westport. Police found Martinez several hours later asleep at the wheel with a child in the car. He could have been sentenced up to 25 years in prison, but police couldn't prove he was drunk at the time of that crash. Bond's family says the shorter sentence is unfair and does little to deter others from committing similar crimes in the future.
The Barron County Sheriff is asking for 2,000 volunteers this morning to expand a search for evidence connected to the disappearance of Jamie Kloss. With the help of business and home surveillance footage, investigators have now released these images of 2 different cars that were near the 13-year-old's home when her parents were killed and she went missing. One is a red or orange Dodge Challenger. The other is a black Ford Edge or black Acura MDX. We do have descriptions and pictures of both these vehicles up on channel3000.com. Investigators do not have any license plate information. However, if you think you see these cars, you're encouraged to call the tip line at 1-855-744-3879. If you see Jamie, please call 911. Now, this morning's ground search starts at 9 a.m. The hope is to finish up by 4 this afternoon. Again, investigators are hoping for 2,000 people to come out and help look for more clues into Jamie's disappearance and her parents' murders. They'll start along Highway 25 this morning. Now, the Dane County Sheriff's Office has offered its help to the Barron County investigators, but deputies are not actively working on that case.
Madison's Finance Committee is backing Mayor Paul Soglin, Mayor Paul Soglin's plan, to get more resources to first responders. The State Journal reports the committee accepted an amendment to add 1 police officer to the payroll next year and to create a human resources position. That position would free up a police lieutenant to focus specifically on human trafficking. The committee also approved $26,000 for a body camera pilot program for officers in the North District and $103,000 to make sure there's always a paramedic on staff at Fire Station 14. That's a downgrade from the original $650,000 proposal. That called for the new station on the city's southwest side to have an ambulance and 9 firefighters on staff.
6:05 right now. Madison leaders are looking at developing more land on the Far East Side that will be officially part of the city in the next couple decades.
They're currently looking at how to upgrade a plan that's more than 25 years old, and they need your help. Our Josh Breiter is live from the town of Burke with the details. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. The city's looking for input on everything on how to use this land and how to get around on the Far East Side. The meeting tonight will take place here at the Town of Burke Municipal Building, and you may be asking why here in the Town of Burke. Well, take a look at this map on your screen right now. City planners say about a third of the project under the Nelson Neighborhood Development Plan is land within the Town of Burke, which will become part of the city of Madison over the next 20 years or so. It covers about 1,000 acres bounded by the interstate, U.S. Highway 151, the city of Sun Prairie boundary, and the railroad. Much of the city's focus on expanding has been on Madison's west side, but city planners say they're seeing a high demand for land development on the east side too.
We've been seeing a lot of redevelopment within the city and seeing really an increased interest in development on the periphery as well, and some of the neighborhoods that are on the outskirts of the city. So we want to have kind of that balance and be prepared for that.
The Nelson Plan was put in place back in 1992, but city planners say it was in need of a major update. I'm told the meeting tonight will be brief. It starts at 6:45 with just some information regarding the project. The main purpose for this is for you to attend. They're hoping for a large turnout of people bringing their questions, comments, and concerns forward. We have all of this information on channel3000.com.
Sounds great. All right, Josh Breiter reporting live from the town of Burke. Thank you, Josh.
6:07 right now. A couple's generous donation has brought a Sauk County Flood Relief Fund to $250,000 this morning. That anonymous check for $98,852.86 arrived at the Community Foundation of Southern Wisconsin last week. The headquarters for that organization is in Janesville, but Sauk County leaders won't say where the couple is from. Donations for the Sauk County Flood Relief Fund are now at $250,000. There's an estimated $15 million worth of damage, though, to Sauk County homes and businesses, and that doesn't even include damaged crops. The money from this fund will help fill the gaps after federal aid and community grants are spent. There's information over on channel3000.com for anyone who's interested in making a donation. All right, it was nice while it lasted. We are talking about the Brewers' run to the playoffs before it came to an end this past weekend. Jim Rutledge with the ESPN Madison is in next with why it just wasn't meant to be this year.
Well, hopefully crossing our fingers next year, maybe the year. Kiddos might be swinging the bats outside for recess today. It is cold enough, though, that you might get that sting on your hands if you hit in the wrong spot. You know what I'm talking about, folks, if you've swung a bat in cold weather before. Hattie's talking about a 10-degree dip when News 3 This Morning returns.
Go to
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio and happy Tuesday morning. Temperatures aren't quite as cool this morning. We're coming off a beautiful day yesterday. Wanted to quick show you these high temperatures yesterday. Everyone topping in the 60s. Hope you had a chance to enjoy the sunshine and warmth because temps are definitely going to be much cooler today. Here's a look at Weather Track. We'll still have the same amount of sunshine though. Things are very quiet across the midsection of the country. Any significant cloud cover is well to our south and will remain there through the day. There may be a few high-level cirrus clouds drifting down from the north, but they'll just filter the sunshine for a short time. Temperatures across the upper Midwest are a little chilly in the northern plains. 21 now in Bismarck. Sioux Falls is down to 29 degrees. Minneapolis starts at 35 and Chicago is at 42. Now in between here in southern Wisconsin, we have many spots in the 30s early today. 39 in Janesville, 36 now in Platteville, 37 in the Dells and 38 here in Madison. That is technically warmer than it was this time yesterday. However, there is a little bit of a wind factor in this morning. We have a northwesterly wind around 5 to 10 miles per hour, so wind chills are in the low to mid 30s in most spots this morning. You'll definitely want the jacket today. Future Track forecast model will show you how temperatures warm through the day. Even despite the sunshine, that light northwesterly wind is going to make temperatures a little slow to warm up. Mid-40s by lunchtime today, topping only in the upper 40s to around 50 degrees. Now, skies are expected to remain clear through the evening and overnight hours. Clear skies and light winds are the ingredients for a very chilly night. Temperatures will drop into the upper 20s and low 30s. Here's a look at your extended forecast. We're not going to see much variation with those high temperatures through the rest of the week. We'll hover close to 50 degrees. Lots of sunshine through, I'd say, at least Thursday morning. Then through the afternoon, the clouds start to return back into the area. Slight shower chance late Thursday into Friday. And then another system, a couple of systems for the weekend, keeping chances for rain in the forecast Saturday and Sunday. And then looking a little more unsettled as we head into next week. And on Halloween, making early plans, could be a wet and windy Halloween. Now let's get a look at your first alert traffic maps this morning with Josh Tim. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, it's a quiet start on the Beltline so far this morning. No major delays showing up yet in either direction. Just a few brake lights westbound between Stoughton Road and West Broadway, but it shouldn't slow you down at this point. Checking out other roads here in Dane County, some of the usual traffic on northbound side of Verona Road approaching the Beltline ramps. No problems at all downtown around the Capitol Square and UW campus. Volume is not a factor, probably another for a half hour or so. Other main routes heading into the city are moving along at the usual speeds with no crashes or delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
All right, thanks so much, Josh. Thanks, Hattie. The World Series begins tonight without the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
We gave it an extra day to let Brewers fans recover from the loss against the Dodgers over the weekend, but we want to take a little time to look on the bright side.
Yeah, that's because the Crew really had a great season. It tied the franchise record for wins and finished with the best record in the National League. So we wanted to look back on the great season and look forward to the next one, hopefully, with our friend Jim Rutledge over at ESPN Radio. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I guess let's start by looking back a little bit. We are talking about a team that has great attendance, one of the lowest payrolls in baseball right now, and yet, kind of the Cinderella story, you can say, of the playoffs here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with the Brewers. Because they have the low payroll, everyone's excited about what they're able to do, but they were the #1 seed in the National League. They had home field advantage for Game 7, so I think there's a mix of feelings for Brewer fans. Very excited about how the season went and winning the division and beating the Cubs, but then when you get to the playoffs and you are the #1 seed and you don't get to the World Series, I think there's a mix of disappointment because being a small market team, it's never guaranteed that you're going to be back. It's never guaranteed you're going to be back if you're a big market team. Chicago won 95 games, and they got in a one-game playoff and lost. So that's kind of a mixed feeling right now, I think, for Brewers fans.
I have to be honest. The last time I was a big fan was 2011, our last run. I loved Prince Fielder. I loved those days. And I remember us having a problem with our bullpen back then. What do we need to work on for next season?
Bullpen's not a problem
this. Yeah, I know, we have a great bullpen, but how about our starting pitchers?
Boy, oh boy.
The part for the Brewers pitching is who's going to be there. It sounds like Wade Miley might be leaving through free agency. I don't know if they'll want to pay him. There could be other guys. Suter obviously won't be around next year. The bullpen I feel comfortable with. It's the starting pitching. You don't know. Right. Could Burns be a starter? Woodruff, is he a starter? Who else is going to be a starter? Can Shashin repeat what he did last year? Last year was a career year for the Brewers. Overall, How do they compensate for, are guys going to repeat what they did, or did they exceed what they're capable of by 10, 15%? And Shashin or even a Yelich could fall into that. Is Yelich an MVP next year, or is he just an all-star? He's definitely going to be an all-star caliber player. Will he be the best player in the National League? I don't know. And so you got to make up that difference.
Well, then you add to the mix the, we'll call it creative style that Craig Counsell had in this postseason. I mean, especially with the pitching. Do you foresee more of that, less of that as we kind of head into the seasons to come here?
I think it depends on what they do in the offseason. Do they go out and get a Jacob deGrom? How healthy is Jimmy Nelson? I mean, remember, he didn't pitch at all this year. So there's moves the Brewers are capable of making, and I think they'll make them this year. Counsell was creative, but in part because he had to be, because there were holes in the starting pitching staff, that they only could go maybe 5 innings. You didn't want them to see a lineup more than 3 times, or really even 2 times in a game. If he gets a deGrom and Nelson gets healthy and Shashin continues to progress, then you have 3 guys that are capable of going deeper into games if they want to.
Briefly, we have to look ahead to the World Series. Dodgers or Red Sox? What are you thinking?
I think it'll be the Red Sox. I think the American League has been the best league throughout this year. The Dodgers, they were there last year. That's the one thing that I think plays in their favor. But they struggled against the Brewers. They obviously got the win, but they didn't look flawless. I mean, both those teams, the Brewers or the Dodgers, I don't care which one got there. I was probably going to pick the Red Sox to win it because they are really good and they're rolling right now.
Yeah, it is really, if you haven't watched yet this season, they are quite good and very exciting to watch. So thanks, Jim, as always, for coming in. We'll get you on the Badgers coming up here, hopefully before the Big Ten Championship. Thanks,
Sounds
Jim.
good. Thank you.
Knocking on wood. Sorry, I just jinxed it a little bit.
Please.
All right, 6:18 your time right now, and roller coaster seems to be a bit of an understatement when we're talking about the weather we have seen across southern Wisconsin this fall. We're down another 10 degrees today compared to yesterday. It is going to stay that way, though. Chris Reese is going to explain the reason behind the cooler pattern of weather we'll probably see for the rest of the week coming up.
But let's focus on the positives, okay? Once that sun comes up, eventually it's going to stay out all day. Hattie has some sun before the chances for rain and possibly snow return when News 3 This Morning returns.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean. We're going to have sunshine through the day today, just like yesterday, but it's not going to be as warm. Temperatures are starting in the 30s most places this morning. Northwesterly winds, though, 5 to 10 miles per hour, making it feel just a little bit colder. Remind those kids to take the jacket today. Even though we have the sunshine, temperatures will top only in the upper 40s to around 50 degrees. And then it looks like we continue with those cooler temperatures right through the end of the weekend into next week. No major warm-ups in the forecast. Taking a look at those long-range models, Chris, looks like it could get a little active around here if you're still planning the Halloween costume.
I know.
You might want to pay attention to your forecast.
Absolutely, and we've been tracking that together all morning and for the past couple of days. And of course, Halloween is starting to look like more of an active pattern. So let's go ahead and break down just how things are looking across the eastern half of the country as a whole. What you're looking at is the jet stream pattern right now. We have what's known as a split flow. This is why you have the big ridge over Canada, a trough over the desert southwest, and that kind of merges into what we call zonal flow across the eastern half of the country. But as that warmth in the west begins to head towards the north, what you'll notice is that across the eastern half of the country, we will develop a trough of some cooler air digging down southward. Now, what this will eventually do is actually lead to a storm system developing across the east coast. So as we head into the weekend, be on the lookout for folks talking about a nor'easter in the northeast. Now, here's the deal. It should be too warm for a lot of snow. It'll be mostly rain, but a lot of wind for those folks. We'll be staying cool, but then the next shot of cooler air begins to head in. And then as we head towards Halloween, that could lead to a storm system developing. And there's likely going to be some wind with that if the models continue to hold true. So the potential is there for a wet and windy Halloween. Then behind that, colder air could likely dive in as we head into the first week of November as well. So let's go ahead and show you just how that looks in terms of precipitation on our models. Here's the rainfall coming in for Friday. Watch the East Coast and how these two systems interact to form that system that will develop across the East Coast and then move up towards the north. Then our next system comes in as we get you towards October 28th. That one will get out of here, and here's our Halloween system. And you see these little thin lines close together. We call those isobars. That indicates the potential for some higher wind with that as well. Then once that moves off to the east, snow across the Rockies and northern plains. That's that blast of colder air coming into the picture. Now, the models go out beyond this as well. I'm not really going to show that just because at that point, we really get into what's known as model fantasy land, and there's a lot of variation and what can happen beyond that. But the moral of the story is the end of the month looks very active as of now.
It always seems we at least need to get the long johns or snow pants or whatever ready for underneath the kiddos' costumes for trick-or-treating.
Always.
Honestly, in Kentucky, it was the same way.
Yeah.
I remember some Halloweens with snow and wind, and it was brutal. So it's just that time of the year that you have the battle of the seasons, and Halloween is a scary day, apparently.
For the weather. Ooh.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Chris.
My pleasure.
The Center for Disease Control says the number of cases of the polio-like illness we told you about last week is on a fast rise across the country. The CDC is now investigating at least 155 possible cases of AFM. That's up from 127 just last week. Of those cases, 62 have been confirmed across 22 states. 2 of them are here in Wisconsin. The disease affects the nervous system. It attacks the gray matter in the spinal cord, and it can paralyze its victims. The condition is most common in kids around 4 years old. 1 case has proved fatal so far.
The country's longest-running drug prevention program is celebrating its 33rd year. The National Red Ribbon Campaign starts today. During the last week of October, organizers highlight drug awareness by wearing red ribbons. They're also asking parents to take a pledge to teach their kids about the dangers of drug use. You can learn more information about how to get involved in the campaign at redribbon.org.
All right, 6:25 your time now. There are some changes coming to the Rock County Jail after deputies there say a teenager was able to jump out of a window to try and escape.
And deputies in Dane County are talking about safety as well, and there could be an app for that. The news is back in the morning on News 3 this morning.
The sheriff's office is planning some safety upgrades after a Rock County inmate took a nosedive from a jail window.
A public meeting is set for tonight to discuss possible development on Madison's Far East Side. I'm Josh Brother, live with how city planners hope to transform the area.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to the final half hour of News 3 This Morning. It's 6:29 now on this Tuesday, October 23rd. 38 degrees. Josh has got his scarf on. He might be keeping it on all day.
Yeah, definitely. Hattie is outside with the cooler temperatures in the forecast. Hoping everyone soaked it in yesterday, right?
Yeah, you never know this time of the year. Was that the last 60-degree day? I can't tell you, but I can tell you that we don't have any 60-degree days in the forecast over the next 10 days. So I hope you had a chance, like Danica said, to enjoy it. Just starting to see some light on our Skycam shots this morning. Here's the view from the Edgewater Skycam looking at the Capitol. No issues with fog this morning. The air is very dry around here. We have temperatures that are in the 30s. Some spots still dropping. 38 here in Madison, down to 36 in Prairie du Chien now, still at 37 in the Dells. But Camp Douglas, I see, has dropped to 28 degrees. Our day planner forecast today has a lot of sunshine, which is great news, but it will be quite a bit cooler than yesterday. About 10 to 15 degrees to be exact. Yesterday, temps were in the mid-60s. Today, we're in the upper 40s to around 50 degrees. Let's take a look at those first alert traffic maps now, see if anything has changed in the area. Still pretty low volumes, no issues on the Beltline right now. Maybe a little slow going inbound on East Washington, but nothing too major just yet. Looks like there aren't any accidents around the area, so you're still going at posted speeds heading into Madison. And that's your first alert traffic.
Hattie, thank you so much. The Rock County Sheriff's Office will be double checking for safety screens after a teenager jumped from a second-story window and tried to escape. The Janesville Gazette reports 17-year-old Quantrell Schwartzlow is back in custody this morning on a $15,000 bond. He was able to open a window and dive head first while a detective was handcuffing him. Schwartzlow ran from the scene but was arrested again about 3 hours later at a friend's house. Sheriff Rob Spoden told the paper that wing of the building used to be all offices and not questioning areas, adding the screens will be installed in every room where suspects are interrogated.
Fitchburg police are looking for whoever robbed the Stop and Go on Fish Hatchery Road overnight. It happened just after 11 at the gas station just off the Beltline there. Police say a man with a hood over his face walked into that store and demanded money from the clerk, keeping his hand in his pocket the whole time, implying he had a weapon. He did get away with some cash, and a canine couldn't find him afterward. Madison police are looking for two suspects who robbed a man in his car at gunpoint. It happened around 9 last night along Fisher Street. That's near the U-Haul on Park. The men stole some money and personal property, then ran off. The victim said he'd met one of them before, but didn't know his name. Anyone with information on that crime is asked to call the Madison Area Crime Stoppers.
A budget amendment that will be officially pitched today would account for the cost of covering juvenile detention for children arrested in Dane County. That's usually paid for, as of right now, by parents. There's also a $13,000 proposal to develop a mobile app for the sheriff's office. That app could provide alerts and updates when necessary to the general public. There's also an amendment that would fund a parenting program for inmates in the Dane County Jail. That would cost another $5,400. The Public Protection and Judiciary Committee meets at 5:15 to talk about possible additions to next year's budget.
Mayor Paul Soglind's plan to block any new liquor licenses from the downtown area is looking less and less likely. The State Journal reports city officials are backing a new plan after the moratorium idea failed in 2 committees and faced even more opposition from members of the Alcohol License Board. 3 downtown area alders are now calling for anyone who's interested to study alcohol density, the problems that might come from it, and any potential solutions. Mayor Soglin has argued alcohol is fueling violence in the downtown area. Alders still do plan to vote on the ban on new liquor licenses at next month's council meeting. There is a meeting happening tonight to talk about the future of Madison's Far East Side.
Yeah, the city is looking to update a development plan that was first put together in the early 90s, and they want your input as well. Josh Sprider is live this morning in the town of Burke with why the city is updating that plan. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. We're live at the municipal building here in the town of Burke, and this is where that meeting will be taking place tonight. Now, part of that Nelson plan, about 1/3, actually includes land here within the town of Burke, which will eventually become Madison in about 20 years. Here's a closer look at the area we're talking about. The city of Madison is just starting the process of updating the Nelson plan, which covers about 1,000 acres you see surrounded by the red light on the chart. City planners say an update was desperately needed in order to keep up as more people move from the country into the metropolitan area.
Even if it does end up being primarily residential in the future for the undeveloped area, we want to kind of explore ways to make sure that this area is well connected with the rest of the city so people can get in, get out, get around, not only by car but by walking and bike as well.
Right now, officials are looking for recommendations with how they can take this project to the next level. Tonight's meeting here at the municipal building in the town of Burke is just kind of an informational meeting, very informal, they said. The main thing is they want people to show up and ask questions, bring their comments and concerns, and any other input is wanted for this meeting tonight. Again, this process is just getting started. It's going to take a few years to do it, but it's kind of nice that they're asking the people what they want here in the area, ladies.
Yeah, take advantage. Voice your opinion on your city expanding. Love it. All right, Josh Brighter reporting for us this morning. Thanks, Josh.
Madison's Water Utility Board will meet tonight for the first time since the state gave its preliminary approval of a 30% rate hike for customers. That increase is set to be finalized by the Public Service Commission on Friday. It's part of a plan to pay for a more than $6 million deficit that the utility faces. It also plans to sell off properties and take out a loan from the city that will eventually be paid back by ratepayers plus interest. Meanwhile, the board will consider continuing a partnership with the UW to research quality drinking water. That will cost the utility an estimated $44,000 next year. 6:36 right now, and Turkish leaders say a journalist was killed by an entire team of people from Saudi Arabia. And the president is demanding those suspects are turned over to prosecutors in Turkey. We'll have an update in the morning sprint.
And a plan to connect more low-income families to the internet here in Madison might not work so well. We'll check in on what's next for Wi-Fi in the city when News 3 This Morning returns. Welcome back. We always ask you to share your morning with us, and my aunt and uncle sent me this picture of their harvest outside of Highland. They're using a 2-row corn picker there, which I've been told is super unique. Takes a long time, but looks pretty neat, if you ask me.
No, definitely. That is an impressive piece of machinery right there.
Well, thanks for sending it in, Aunt Janice. What does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it on the Facebook page or on Twitter, and use the hashtag MyNews3Morning. We share our favorites every morning right here on the program.
I love that. Aunt Janice, keep sending them in. All right, some city leaders in Madison say a plan to ensure low-income households have internet access just isn't financially feasible. The State Journal's reporting the fiber to premises initiative would cost the public $170 million. The city's Digital Technology Committee is now recommending the city try to have a more targeted approach instead of attempting to connect the entire city. Earlier this year, the city ended the Connect Madison plan to bring low-cost internet service to 4 different neighborhoods. The provider contracted for that job only signed up about 19 customers.
Harley-Davidson is going to release its quarterly earnings today, and investors aren't expecting a lot of good news. Last quarter, the Wisconsin company posted a 6% decline in sales, selling the fewest bikes since the Great Recession. The company could also tell investors more about its plans to shift production overseas. Those plans were put into motion when the European Union announced increased tariffs on those signature bikes. All right, 6:41 your time now. I am holding out hope for another kayak day in the forecast, and that might be just what we're getting today, as long as we're all bundled up.
Yeah.
Patty's in next with some more sunshine for you after the break.
But first, it is October 23rd. We want to say happy birthday to Molly Marie and all the kiddos turning 3 today. Thank you so much for letting us help celebrate here on News 3 this morning.
Welcome back. A popular donut shop on the UW campus, known for its late-night hours, has a new way to appeal to college kids through You guessed it, beer.
Yeah, Greenbush Bakery is partnering with Octopi Brewing to launch a cherry donut stout. The Wanakee-based brewery used donuts and frosting from Greenbush during the brewing process. It should be on liquor store shelves soon. Madison Magazine has a story up about this brew up on channel3000.com. And Hattie, this is sounding all sorts of Homer Simpson to me. Beer, donuts.
Whatever. I can't imagine how they made that beer, but it would be interesting to try. Let's switch gears right now and talk about
Hurricane Wilma in the Pacific, a Category 4 or a strong Category 3 storm right now. It is expected to weaken today as it tracks northward. Again, the movement on that storm north at 5 miles an hour. Here's a look at the forecast. On this current path, Willa is expected to make landfall later on this afternoon. Here's Tuesday at 5:30, so 5:30 this afternoon, making landfall in Mexico and then rapidly weakening as it moves onshore. Now, the storm will fall apart in Mexico, but the moisture from this storm is going to continue to track into the U.S. and across the southeastern corner of the United States. So where the storm makes landfall, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of rain, possibly up to 18 inches of rain in some spots. Also a strong storm surge, but then that moisture continues on its northeastward track. Several inches of rain possible across parts of Texas, which of course definitely do not need any more rain. And again, south of Houston could see some pretty heavy rain totals as well. Now, by contrast, we have a pretty quiet start to our day today. We're not looking at any rain in the forecast. Beautiful shot this morning from the Edgewater Sky Cam as the sun comes up. 38 degrees is our temperature in Madison, 36 in the Dells, 36 in Mineral Point. Janesville's up a few degrees now to 39. Winds will be a little bit of a factor today. They're from the northwest, staying rather light, but it's that northwesterly direction that's going to keep a chill in the air through the afternoon. You'll see those wind speeds just 5 to 10 miles an hour through the afternoon. But again, temperatures will stay a little cooler. Here's a look at those pinpoint city forecast highs today. In Fort Atkinson and Watertown, you're looking at a high of 49 degrees today, 52 in Stoughton and 52 in New Glarus. To the west, lots of sunshine in the forecast, right around 50 degrees as well. 51 in Prairie du Chien, Platteville, as well as Mineral Point. Muscatine topping at 52 degrees. And to the north, temperatures again very similar. 49 for a high in Mauston. Baraboo tops at 49, as does Prairie du Sac. Here in Madison, we're looking at a high temperature of 49 degrees today. Lots of sunshine and really much of the same for tomorrow. 49 with mostly sunny skies. Temperatures hold near 50 as we head right through the upcoming weekend. Does turn a little cloudy on Thursday with a slight chance for rain coming late Thursday night into Friday. And then a couple of fast-moving storm systems keeping rain chances through the weekend. No big warm-ups as we head into next week, but it looks like that active weather pattern could continue right through the Halloween on Wednesday. Here's a look at our Pet Walk forecast. Aura and Dora.
Nice.
Like it. In Evansville, they look like they're pretty good buds.
Yeah, no kidding. I think Dora, I'm assuming the cat's Dora. I don't know. I just always match the name with
yeah, the
where they are.
Pretty good morning to just snuggle up like that, though.
She looks
cool
super comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and very soft.
In the zone. All right.
That's where you're going to find me in a little bit.
Yeah,
all
right.
Thanks, Eddie.
You're welcome.
Your morning sprints coming up next right here on News 3 This Morning. 6:51, time now for the morning sprint. Hattie has cooler temperatures and sunny skies in your forecast.
And Josh Spreiter is live near Madison's east side, where you can share your ideas about a large-scale development project there. But we want to start overseas, where the president of Turkey is demanding Saudi officials reveal who planned the murder of a Washington Post journalist. He says Jamal Khashoggi was the victim of a savage killing at the consulate in Istanbul that was planned days before it happened. He now wants the Saudi king to release 18 suspects into Turkish custody. Saudi officials say his death was the result of a fight.
Back in Wisconsin, the Barron County Sheriff's Office is asking for 2,000 volunteers this morning to expand a search for evidence connected to the disappearance of Jamie Kloss. That starts at 9 o'clock this morning. Investigators have also released pictures of 2 cars they believe were around when Jamie went missing and her parents were murdered in their home. One is a red or orange Dodge Challenger. The other is a black Ford Edge or a black Acura MDX. Anyone who sees these vehicles should call the tip line at 1-855-744-3879.
Deputies in Dodge County are asking for information about a hit and run last night. The sheriff says it happened just after 7 p.m. in the town of Oak Grove when what looked like a white Ford F-150 hit someone on County I and Highway 33. Another driver found the 32-year-old man seriously injured in a nearby ditch. Deputies are asking people to look out for a truck with damage to the front end and the driver's side headlight.
Classes are canceled today at the University of Utah as campus police investigate a shooting there overnight. Officers were responding to reports of shots fired and a kidnapping when they found a woman dead inside a car. A 37-year-old man was found dead hours later from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police say the victim and that suspect were previously in a relationship and had gotten into a fight earlier that evening.
Here's the view this morning in Platteville from our Queen Bee Radio Sky Cam. Clear skies there as the sun comes up. We'll have a lot of sunshine through the day today. Temperatures starting out in the 30s this morning. Not as warm, though, as yesterday. You'll see that temperature climb only into the upper 40s, close to 50 degrees later on this afternoon. And that's your First Alert forecast.
All right, thanks, Hattie. Madison's Finance Committee is backing a plan by the mayor to get more resources to first responders. The State Journal reports that includes money for 1 more police officer and $26,000 for a body camera pilot program in the North District. They also approved an amendment to keep a paramedic on staff at the new Fire Station 14 on the city's southwest side instead of the original proposal for a new ambulance there.
A handful of alders representing downtown Madison want the city to study alcohol-related issues instead of banning new liquor licenses altogether. The State Journal reports Mayor Paul Soglein's plan for a moratorium on alcohol licenses downtown is now unlikely to pass. Soglin argues heavy drinking is directly linked to an uptick in violence downtown. Common Council is expected to vote on the moratorium next month.
I'm Josh Spreiter, live outside of the Town of Burke Municipal Building, where a public meeting is set to take place tonight to discuss development here on Madison's far east side. Some of the area we're talking about includes the Nelson neighborhood plan put in place back in the 90s. The city of Madison is now looking at updating that plan with the changing times. They're looking at developing about 1,000 acres on the far east side. The land is bounded by the interstate U.S. Highway 151, the city of Sun Prairie, and the railroad. A portion of land is within the town of Burke, which will eventually be annexed into the city. Tonight's public meeting is for you to provide input and ask questions about the project. It starts at 6:45. We have everything you need to know on the Channel 3000 mobile app.
Thank you, Josh. The Rock County Sheriff's Office will be double-checking for safety screens after a teenager jumped from the second-story window and tried to escape. The Janesville Gazette reports 17-year-old Quantrell Schwartzlow is back in custody and now faces escape charges. Sheriff Rob Spoden told the paper that wing of the building used to be all offices instead of holding cells, adding there will be screens installed in every room where suspects are questioned.
Sun Prairie School District and 38 others across Wisconsin will have some extra funding for mental health resources and training. The State Department of Justice awarded the final round of its $100 million in school safety-related grants yesterday. There's about $6 million remaining, which will be used to create an app and tip line for anonymous threat reporting.
A couple's generous donation is nearly doubling the Sauk County Flood Relief Fund this morning. That anonymous check for $98,852.86 arrived at the Community Foundation of Southern Wisconsin last week. That fund is now at $250,000. There's an estimated $15 million worth of damage, though, to Sauk County homes and businesses. The money from that fund will help fill the gaps after federal aid and community grants are spent.
It's the Dodgers at Fenway to kick off the World Series tonight. The Brewers took LA to Game 7 over the weekend after the franchise won a record 102 games this season. But it'll be the Red Sox and the Dodgers. First pitch is just after 7 on Fox. If you need something to cheer for, though, Taco Bell is giving away a free taco for every stolen base.
America could have a new billionaire by the end of the day. The Mega Millions jackpot is now worth more than $1.6 billion after nobody won in last Friday's drawing. That sets a new world record for the largest lottery jackpot ever. The cash lump sum after taxes comes out to about $687 million.
All right, 6:56 right now. Let's turn it over to Josh Tim with one more look at First Alert traffic. Hey, Josh.
Yeah, the usual crowd beginning to show up on the westbound Beltline between Stoughton Road and West Broadway, adding a couple minutes to your drive time. Inbound John Nolan picking up near the Rimrock intersection, and then again near North Shore Drive, moving into the downtown area. Verona Road getting busier on the northbound side, heading toward the Beltline, but other main routes heading into the city are moving along at the usual speeds with no major crashes or delays. Your First Alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
All right, thanks, Josh.
And we have sunshine early this morning. Sun comes up just after 7:20 officially. Take a look at our temperature trend through the day. We're going to climb from the 30s back into the upper 40s this afternoon. So definitely cooler. I think you'll want a jacket today, but at least we have sun.
You have a better chance of becoming the president of the United States, having triplet or quadruplets, identical ones, or dying by a falling coconut than to win the Mega Millions. But
not
tickets, $1.6 billion, folks.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.